Okay, so before we put this piece in, let's go ahead and make our drawer so that we can see where we need to place this piece. So I'm going to set all this aside. Also set the lid aside piece. That is your 7 by 8.5. And so let's grab the drawer bottom, which is 6 7/8 by 8 7/8. I'm going to check that and make sure that should work. Front. This will go here. And set that aside for now. The front piece, which is 2 by 7. So we have the drawer sides. You have 2 that are 1 7/8 by 8 7/8, and 2 drawer fronts that are 1 7/8 by 6 7/8. So we set all that aside. Okay. So these are put together pretty simply. You're just going to put them together with these hinges. Like that. So let's grab us 4 hinges. Now we want to cut 2 at 8 7/8. And then 2 that are 6 7/8. Okay, so that's right there. Then we're going to need 4 that are 1 7/8. So I'm going to use these small pieces. So let's attach these 4 to the bottom piece first. You want to attach them to all the same side, of course. So like this. Okay, so the same way we're going to stand this up into the fold, line up these chipboard ends, and bring the other side out. So I'm going to use score tape right quick to show you how you would do it with score tape. So we're going to go ahead and put score tape on all 4 of these hinge flaps. because I'm going to make sure that it comes together nice and neat. Okay, so let's start with this one side first. Let's peel the backing off on one side here. And that peeled back, so I'm putting some glue there. Glue right along the seam line. Stand this side piece in. Make sure it is even with the chipboard on each end here and here. Bring it in tight. Now then pull that hinge up and burnish it. And when we drop it down, we have a slight gap. So I wasn't ready for glue in there. I'm sorry, I shouldn't put glue in there yet. So let's do this other side. Just go ahead and peel this backing off. Stand up your side piece, lined up on each end at the chipboards right here. Really tight up against it. And bring your hinge up and burnish down. Now drop it and you have your gap. Same with these inside pieces. Stand it in there, right up tight, and make sure it's lined up with the chipboard on each end, and then bring the hinge up and burnish. One more. I'm going to turn it over and give them all a good burnish right here on the lap sides. Now then, this is where we need our little short hinges. And make sure they come all the way down to the corner. So I'm going to glue each one on the end of the long pieces here. So you just glue it, make sure it lines up here at the bottom. Right there. Okay. So I'm going to put one on each end of the long sides on the chipboard. And you could do this with score tape too. The other side. Okay, so this is what's going to be bringing it together. So like if you want to put score tape on those, you can do that. Okay, so let's start on one side. Go ahead and peel that tape backing off on both ends. Okay, so now we're going to put glue in that joint. And then along the edge, the ends. Pull this up. Bring this side up. Let's do one side here. Let's line it up really good, the corners, and bring that hinge around. Same over here, line it up here in the corner, bring your hinge around that has the score tape on it, and then burnish. And if it extends a little bit, then just trim that little bit off. Much on that one, and a tiny bit on this one. Okay, other side. Same thing, let's pull the tape backing off. And keep our finger crossed that these fit, this drawer fits. So glue in the hinge, or in the seam. And along the ends. Bring this up, pull it up, line that up, and press that down. And then burnish. And then trim anywhere it might be sticking out. Okay, so that's the drawer. We're going to reinforce the inside. I just want to make sure it slides in. Okay, it'll be pretty snug, but that's okay. So that's where the drawer goes. So let's hinge and reinforce the inside. Okay, so I've got my hinges for the inside of the box ready. And I cut these just under the, just a hair under the 8 7/8. I'm going to dry fit, make sure they fit. And they do. So you put, again, glue in the seam. Just a thin line of glue is plenty. And then glue on both sides of your hinge so that it's on the outside of the hinge, because you want the fold to go down into the box seam. Just like this. So you put it down in there, make sure the fold goes right into the seam of the box. Burnish that really well. And then go ahead and do all the other 3 sides. Okay, so we have all around the bottom. Now we just do the little corner ones, which should be just under 1 7/8. So I'm going to pre-cut all those. Okay, so we're going to put these corner ones in. Same way we did the others. So just glue on both sides on the outer part of your hinge. Some glue in the seam. Okay, so the inside's reinforced. Just double check and make sure everything still kind of slides in really well. Okay. Now we'll finish the edge of the drawers. I have 2 long ones that I cut. I'm going to dry fit, make sure right there. Put the glue on the inside of these. And finish this top edge by just placing that hinge in there. Pressing it down so that the fold goes along the cut edge of the chipboard. These that fit on the end, you might want to miter cut just a little bit on the side that goes on the inside so that it fits in better here at the top. I'm going to need some glue here, some more on this side one here. Oops. So go ahead and glue these on. And again, if you see a spot where you might see just a tiny bit of the chipboard in the corner, just go ahead and paint that. And there's our drawer. Okay, so this is going to go inside. It's a pretty tight fit, so I'm going to have to, okay, in and out. Okay, so I was looking at this here at the top, and I don't like the unfinished edge right here, so I cut another piece of trim to finish that top edge there. So I'm just going to add another one on. It's okay, it doesn't change anything. So you just look at yours, and if you think it needs another piece of trim to even out the corner, just go ahead and add that. So like that. On there good though, and get it burnished down so it's smooth. And that gives it smoother edge right here on the corners. Okay, check everything. So So there's that. So we're ready to work on the lid, or rather, not the lid, but the bottom, inside bottom. So that's another 9x7 piece, and it's going to fit right in there. So that it sits on top of that drawer. Okay, so we're going to put hinge all the way around this. So I need one here, and I did end up using 3 12x12 sheets of paper for my hinges. And may have to have a 4th one. We'll see once we get everything lined up. Pretty sure I will. Attach them all on the same side. Just on one side, you're going to leave a hinge loose right here for attaching it to the inside of the box. Okay, to suspend this into the box, I now have taken this hinge and folded it up instead of down. This will be the top inside like that. And I'm going to use score tape, I think, to get it in, hopefully in correctly. Score tape, if I don't get it in right, then I can use undo to take it off and reposition. So that's what I'm going to do. So I put 3/8 inch score tape on the back side of the flap. Just where you see the flaps, you can't see anything else on the chipboard. So it will look like this. Okay, turn that one off. Got to tore it off a little long. Okay, now let's burnish that tape down. So now, if you wanted to pattern this piece here, you would need to do that now. How about that neat? Oh, this is going to go up, so we'll be able to do it without any problem. And this one will be down. If we want to do this one, we might want to do it right now. So I am thinking, I don't think it would hinder it. It's not going to really show much. So I think I'm going to cover this with black cardstock. And that's going to be a 9x7. Let me cut that right quick. That way I'm not using any of my pattern paper, because once it's in the box, you really can't see this bottom side of this shelf. I guess that's what I should call it, is the shelf. So go ahead and mat that down so you do see the hinges here with the score tape. So this is the side that I'm putting. So this will be the underside of the shelf. And here is our shelf. We've got our drawer in there. I'm just going to pull up a bit of it on the sides. Like that. And fold it so that I can grab the tape backing. And I'm going to take all of it off the back here. So I need it to go in all the way to the back. Sit down on this shelf, on this drawer. So let's get this in all the way to the back, up against the back side of the box. Burnish that. Now then, let me make sure it's not dropped down inside. We're going to make sure everything lines up good. Looks a little low on this one side here. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to pull one side off. Burnish that in on the side. And then the other, reach in there and just pull that tape back in off, and then burnish down. So this is the shelf that our album sits on. So take the drawer out. And it's going to be really difficult to put a brace thing in here. Let's see if I can. I'm going to try. So for that far back one, at the top, so I'm going to cut it 6 7/8. And I'm going to use glue. And I'm going to try to just drop it in there. And then reach in and burnish. So, wish me luck. But I think it would really help to have this in there. So I'm going to be doing this off camera. You're not going to be able to see me doing this part. It's really tricky. Got it into the fold. Yeah, got it in there. So now I'm going to try to reach down in there and burnish it the best I can. Okay. These side ones should be a little easier, so we need 2 of those. I have one here, and then I'm going to make my 4th sheet of hinges off camera. It's going to be 8 7/8. And this is going to go right in here on that edge, so it needs to be even shorter. I just don't know of any other easier way to do that. Somebody else knows something, just leave me a comment. I'm happy to try anything to make things easier. And I'm sure others would appreciate it too. So get this glue on here pretty good. And this is going to go right at the top, as far back as you can get it. Burnish it. If I had a smaller ruler, I can do it with my hands though. And we've got to make sure it's laying down flat so it doesn't hinder our drawer any. Something's in there. Feel a bit of hinge in there. Okay, let me make another hinge. Okay, so I've cut some more hinges and I'm ready to put this one in underneath the shelf on the left side. I have all the others already in. So let's get this one in. Turn it on its side and reach way down in. Way down in there. Okay, so we have that shelf in, ready for the drawer. We'll go in right here. I'm just double checking to make sure everything fits as it should. Once you get all these structure things in here, it gets a little tight. There we go.
Next, we need to put on the front piece of the box above the drawer. I do apologize, my camera cut off. I didn't know it. I wish it had a beep or something to tell me or alarm when it has cut off. However, the video that I did was incorrect. I have shown the correct steps leading up to this in the written text above the video. So this is done correctly. Here, I'm going to give you verbal on how to do it correctly. You take the 2 3/8 inch wide by 7 inches long chipboard piece. You cut hinges to fit. You're going to attach a hinge to the bottom edge of this piece, and then you're going to attach the other side underneath the shelf where the drawer goes in and out. And then you're going to use short hinges to attach the ends, and then you will add one long one on the inside here for support, and then 2 short ones on the sides to support it, and then that will have it in correctly for you, and the drawer will still go in and out. So next we're ready to work on the lid. If you haven't cut that piece, I did advise you to wait.
So let's go on to getting the lid on. Now I took the lid piece, which is 7 inches wide by 8.5, and I cut 4 hinges and wrapped the edges all the way around. So it's just gluing the hinge front and back so that the finished edge is here. And then I have gone ahead and cut, leaving just a narrow border of the Love Notes signature paper, and I just used a pencil to cut it to where I want it to have the image to show. Now this is going to fit here, and then I took another scrap of this paper and cut it here for the top of the keyboard, and so this is going to attach with hinges just like that. So this you need to pattern just the one side, And this just the outside, not the inside yet. So just the outside so we can put the hinges. Now these are some hinges I have in my stash. And then I have the Tim Holtz brads. And so I'm going to lay these on here so that the hinge part, this, I don't know what they call it, is on the edge. Okay, so I'm going to mark my first one, the 3 holes. Now this is going to be a little tricky getting this in to the box, but we can do it. So I've lined this up straight, marked my 3 holes. This is about the edge of this hinge, lays about 3/4 of an inch from the edge. Okay. Now it's going to depend on your hinge. Check your Tim Holtz hinges, Kaiser Craft, Prima. See what you can come up. Even your small jewelry hardware type place may have what you need. So I'm going to lay this ruler here, clear out some room, so I can position this at about 3/4. Make sure that's what I did. I just eyeballed the first one. It's actually an inch. The hole is an inch from the side. That doesn't mean the end of the piece, but this is going to go up here and put the hole at about an inch. Make sure they're lined up straight and mark those 3 holes. And the reason you don't pattern underneath, of course, is because you want the back of the brad prongs to be covered with paper. So, let's grab a tool to pierce this with. I have a brad piercing tool here somewhere I need to find. This may work though. You don't want a really, really big hole because these brads, you want to make sure they stay on tight. So if your hole is too big, then your brads may not hold it good. So I'm just poking it in where I've marked the hole and just kind of twisting it till it goes all the way through and working it in there. And I really am sorry that the camera, I don't think it was the camera. I may have ran out of card space, but I really think it was me. I think I hit off when I was supposed to hit on or something like that. So if I get involved with creating, I forget to look to see if the camera is actually on. Okay, so let's take these. I'm going to need 3 brads here. In a hole and line it up. Now it's important to turn your little prongs or your brads so that when you open up your prongs, they're not sticking out beyond the edge of your chipboard. So I like to make them parallel like that and press them. And I'm just using the antique gold color. Kind of matches with my hinge as close as it can. The silvers were too bright and the coppery or brass looking one, the copper ones didn't look right either, I didn't think. So, turn that so it goes, because when you mat your paper down, you don't want these prongs sticking out there either. So I'm going to mash these down really good. And I'll usually take a little bit of score tape and just cover those up. To kind of secure them in place. You could use glue too if you wanted to. So So there's that hinge there. Straightening it up. And then the other one. Okay, now we're about ready for the tricky part, attaching it to the box. Okay, let's bring in the box. Now we're going to have to attach this, line it up. And take my pen, make sure they're lined up side to side right there. Okay, and let's punch these holes. Just watch your hand, be careful. I have had in classes people use their crop-a-doll, the smallest punch, to punch these holes, and then their brads don't really hold good. So use a piercing tool or poking tool like this to poke those holes. I also have a drill, a very tiny drill bit on a drill that I sometimes use, but I didn't want to use it here because it's hard to show on the camera, and also not all of you have one of those, so I don't want you going out to the hardware store and buying a drill. I mean, if your husband has one that he lets you use, and you have the, I think it's a 1/32 bit, those work great. Okay, so we got those holes, and let's do maybe this. We can drop them in first. And then lift it up to fasten it. I'll do one side at a time, maybe. That one goes in. See, with the smaller holes in your cardboard, it makes it hold tighter. It's not falling through, popping out. Whoops. And make sure the prongs go all the way through. There we go. I think that one hole needs a little bigger. Oops. And what I'm going to do on the inside that you can't really see, I'm just going to cut black cardstock and glue up in the top over these prongs, over this section on the inside. I don't think there's any need to. You could use some of your scraps of pattern paper if you wanted to. It does not want to go in. The last one is being difficult. I know it's the holes there. There we go. Now then, carefully lift it up. So it's not as hard as I thought it would be. And turn this so you can see. And just reach in. Carefully open your prongs. And turn them. And I know there's maybe some of you that ask if there's a way to do this without putting these metal hinges. You could make you a cardstock hinge, similar to some of my other boxes I've done. But I just think this looks really good with the metal hinge. So if you can find the metal hinge, if you're going to use a cardstock hinge, I suggest you reinforce it with some clear matte gift wrap tape along the score line, and then also that you do it before you add any pattern paper. Okay, the last one. I'll press those really well. Okay, and then I'm going to add some tape on those. Okay, there it is. Now then, I'm thinking of making sure it stays straight here. Okay, thinking of adding either a drawer pull like that. I'm not sure because the drawer needs one down here, so I like those. This can be done after it's patterned, and I need to make a little adjustments here. It's like this one is not quite right, so I may have to. Of course, it's cardboard. There we go. Okay, that's better. So this I'll do after I do all my patterning of the insides, the outside edges, and everything. So that's it. I will be back to show you what all I put on mine. So I'll check back. The next segment we'll have, it'll be all finished, and then I'll share with you what I've done.